4 days ago in the police station's prison cell. Mr. Shen, it's time to eat. Thank you, Officer Wu. Just put it on the ground. Okay, I will collect it later. That's pretty far out of reach. Why bother pretending to be diligently investigating the case? You know very well that after Stonewu's death, all the previous efforts have been in vain. I have said it. It is none of your business. You've wasted 3 years of your time, and now you've even landed yourself in prison. Yet you're still being stubborn. Face the reality, John. The one who killed your brother was himself. Young man, I'll say this one last time. Your brother has recent bruising on his fingertips. Similarly, there are fresh scratches on the chair legs where he was sitting. This indicates that he was still conscious shortly before his death. But even with your suggested method, a conscious person awaiting death from a falling dagger should still be considered suicide. We had the coroner re-examine the body, and there were no signs of localized anesthesia. We speculate your brother held the dagger through his shirt sleeves. No fingerprints were left. My parents passed away early. My brother took care of me as I grew up. I know he was incredibly resilient, no matter the challenges. He would never give up on life. John, I understand your feelings. Everyone's done their best, be it ye or us. Please sign here. Sign it or not. The body's preservation period is up. You will be cleared from the cold storage tomorrow. Aye, sign away, John. It's time to look forward. Later, you were forced to sign the document. But you were also determined to find the murderer. Over the next 3 years, you travelled between China and the UK, gathering every possible clue. You thoroughly investigated every person mentioned in the case files and anyone related to them. You even formulated detailed revenge plans for each person, as if they were all criminals. The information you collected has filled the entire room, becoming too much to carry around. So, you memorized all the details and cross-referenced them in your mind. And all of this has exceeded the limits of what your brain can process. Hmm. 3 years of hard work. And yet, no results. Have you ever considered that what you're trying to prove might be fundamentally wrong? I know all those doctors said that you would never be able to speak again, but I won't give up. No, you're the one oversimplifying the issue. Brian's murder scene matches the depiction in Death Under the Caisson. It can't be coincidence. It's a case of copycat crime. The murderer is someone who knows the content of the novel. It seems you've hit a wall and still refuse to turn back. You don't even know who Sinosura is, and yet you want to find other people. How could I not know? Sinosura is... Stonewu. You must be kidding. I have no clue with writing a novel. Stonewu indeed doesn't seem like someone who would write novels. Oh. Then who do you think Sinosura is? I've been suspicious of this guy. Although Joseph very much seems like a person who would write novels. So does he. But, I'm curious on what the hint would say. Sinosura refers to the North Star as someone unexpectedly very familiar with the novel's content. She seemed adept in metaphysics and can predict certain events. Interesting. You know what? Purely because of what it says here in metaphysics. Your intuition is clearly unreliable. Think it over again. Okay, never mind. Alright, my intuition said this guy. Ah, well, it is clearly unreliable. What about Joseph? Okay. Well, then my fourth guess was this dude. Okay. Alright. Fifth intuition. Brian himself. My intuition tells me that Brian is the author of Death Under the Caisson. Did you become a detective solely based on intuition? Why would I think that way? What evidence suggests that the book was written by Brian? Right. None of that in particular. A missing book is a maybe. That is also a maybe. Them both standing in front of the ancestral hall. I do want to kind of go with that first. Both what Stonewu said and the photo indicate Brian has been to the Wu family ancestral hall. That is my family's ancestral hall. How did you know that? Oh, it must be Brian who told you. And Sinosura, inspired by the caisson in the hall, wrote Death Under the Caisson. Sinosura at heaven's very heart. Sinosura is the North Star. How could I not have thought of that? Sinosura is the star that remains fixed in the sky, always staying at the northern celestial pole. No matter how far away from home, as long as you find Sinosura, you can find the way back home. If Brian is Sinosura, you know what that implies. The murderer is an acquaintance of Brian in London. This person is not only familiar with his life, but also familiar with this novel. You've investigated everyone he knows. Does such a person exist? There aren't many acquaintances of Brian in London, and they all have solid alibis. You know what that implies. The murderer is an avid reader of Death under the Caisson. Only such a person would attempt to recreate the murder method depicted in the story. But the book has not been publicly published. There is no indication that this novel has been circulated in London. Oh. Murderer is a casual reader. Someone who just borrowed the book from him. Randomly. Or, you know, Brian would have just said, "Do you want to read my book?" And murderer was like, "Yeah." Could it be that the murderer stumbled upon the novel by chance? Did he develop hostility towards Brian due to certain plots in the novel? But if the novel has never been published, where did this hostility come from? Are you more inclined to waste time on these far-fetched assumptions, rather than confront the real answer? The real answer? You already knew the answer. Oh, wait. They're all kind of saying the same. I think this is what Shen actually would say. Brian, I understand now. The question has never been whether or not, but rather why. Chungping, let's find the truth together. All objects and all images settle in different locations sequentially. Okay. Anonymous distress telegram at 2:05. Day of the incident, Miss Sheng felt that someone was surveilling her house and had informed Brian about the situation. Is this a paper found in Stonewoo's study titled Exploring Methods for Extracting Brucine? Surely the missing book comes first. What is the telegraph machine? Used on the day of the incident. Okay. Let me try and piece this together. Surely the missing book comes first. Given these 2 points, it is difficult to draw a convincing conclusion. Wait. Okay. On the day of the murder, someone did use the telegraph machine, but not to retrieve the key. Since Brian set up the trap in the room, perhaps he also sent the alarm telegram? Okay. Police on the day of the incident. No, okay. No. I forgot why it was that the police Okay, can't. Led by Brian, he might have sent the distress telegram himself. English paper. No. This research paper about brucine was found on Stoneru's desk. The paper mentions a new drug called brucine can be extracted from the Nux vomica plant. Ontivu believed Brian's occurrence of opisthotonus is due to strychnine poisoning. But toxicological tests showed that there was no strychnine residue in Brian's body. A new drug called brucine is likely responsible for causing opisthotonus in Brian's body. This doesn't really make much sense. I'm kind of just like connecting things, trying to see if anything sort of matches up. Okay. It took 15 minutes from Kensington Police Station to the murder scene by car. The police arrived at the murder scene almost immediately after Brian's death. Okay. I connected these two, right? Yeah. What about this? No. Does this not connect to anything? This doesn't make much sense. Neither does that. Brian arranged the mechanism and sent the telegram right before his death. Clearly he wanted the police to be the first one to discover his death scene. There must be some special motive behind this. Normally this case is to be handled by Westminster Police Station. It's closer to the scene. Due to the receipt of the alarm telegram, Kensington Police Station became involved in the case. Is this the purpose behind Brian's decision to go further away for help? Yes, it must be for this person. Or one of them. Brian didn't know Officer Jones. I need to reconsider. Wait. He didn't know him either, did he? But then why would... Oh, he's... Oh, I forgot about that. Brian's friend Joseph is serving as sergeant at Kensington Police Station. Brian sent the telegram to him. No, okay. Probably not. No. Wait, what did it even say? Perhaps Brian realized he was being watched, so he sent a telegram to Joseph. Oh. Yeah, but I connected everything else pretty much, didn't I? Like, this is all locked off. I've tried all three of these, haven't I? Yeah. Tried this. I'm pretty sure I've tried this. Oh. It is evident that Brian had already become aware of being poisoned and closely watched. This is what prompted him to choose suicide. No, okay. He realized he couldn't escape the fate of death, so he left some clues at the scene for Joseph. He must have been very desperate at that moment. He had no choice but to be cautious of everyone. He had to convey the message in a secretive manner. Brian wouldn't do anything meaningless before his death. His suicide by imitating the methods in Death Under the Caisson must be related to his purpose. This is very likely his means of conveying his message. But why was he so certain that Joseph would be able to understand his intention? Brian, welcome back to the Conan Doyle Book Club. Enjoy the return, Joseph. They are both members of the Conan Doyle Book Club. It is highly likely that Brian showed Joseph Death Under the Caisson before. The missing book is likely the manuscript of Death Under the Caisson. Joseph took it with him. There, Brian must have left his death note inside. In the case years ago, my brother indeed set up the mechanism and stabbed himself in the chest. You have finally accepted the truth. How could this happen? Even so, that case left behind many mysteries. Among them, the one that puzzles me the most is... Joseph, you clearly know better than me the connection between the crime scene and that novel. Why did you hide it from me? In the book you took from the scene, there is something my brother left for you, right? What? My brother sent a telegram to Kensington Department before he died, for you as his best friend. It was to ensure that you could enter the scene as soon as possible. Joseph, are you still planning to keep it a secret? In fact, it was Brian's intention to keep it from you. What? What do you mean? I met Brian at the Conan Doyle Book Club. He loved Conan Doyle's novels and even attempted to write his own. This notebook contains all of his manuscripts, and Brian only showed them to me. Death Under the Caisson is my favorite piece. We even recreated the tricks mentioned in the book in his study. Unexpectedly, in the end, he reminded me to read the notebook in such a way. What else is in the notebook? Besides the novel manuscript, there's also a research report on cocaine tucked in the notebook. Joseph handed the notebook to Shen. Shen, I think I've heard you mention the name croc before. That is a plant. My brother learned about cocaine from an article by Freud and studied it for many years. According to the research report, he discovered a new drug, cocaine, from the croc plant. He wanted to develop an opium cessation drug to suppress withdrawal symptoms after opium addiction. Unfortunately, this research did not ultimately succeed. Is it because the new drug cannot effectively suppress opiate addiction? On the contrary, patients quickly get rid of their dependence on opium after using the new drug, but without exception they develop a strong craving for the new drug. Are you saying that after years of studying cocaine, instead of developing a quit smoking medication, he ended up with a more potent drug than opium? From the research materials left by Brian, it appears to be the case. So everything my brother did was to entrust these documents to you? I think, yes. I'm getting more confused. If Brian just wanted to hand over the documents to Mr. Joseph, why did he commit suicide? He did this for... Joseph, let me take care of this. Old Bell, you familiar with what happened back then? Brian's research project was funded by me. The tragedy 3 years ago, I still find it regrettable to this day. Officer, quickly fetch a chair for Mr. Bell. When Joseph introduced Brian to me, his research was under the suppression of the Sassoon family. The Sassoon family? The Jewish tycoon that prospered from the opium trade? Exactly. At that time, Brian faced numerous difficulties, almost being forced to drop out. I funded him with a supportive mindset, and unexpectedly, his research soon yielded results. A year later, he successfully crafted the initial version of the opium cessation drug. Regrettably, in clinical trials, the drug demonstrated a significant risk of addiction. A patient who self-administered a large dose became highly agitated and succumbed to arrhythmia. This incident left Brian profoundly remorseful and plunged him into deep confusion. In subsequent research, Brian consistently tried to decrease the amount of cocaine in the drug. Finally, he successfully formulated a reagent capable of eliminating fatigue and uplifting mood. But with prolonged observation, subjects still showed tendencies towards drug abuse and addiction. Shortly afterward, tragedy struck again. Another patient who took the drug had strong hallucinations and ignited a fire in the hospital. This devastating fire became the final straw that broke Brian's mental state. The reason Brian chose to deliver the information to Joseph in an extreme way was to have Joseph halt the development of the opium cessation drug. But actually, he could have approached me directly to convey his concerns. No wonder 3 years ago Watson Pharmacy ceased all operations related to opium cessation drugs. Is it necessary to keep such things from me? Brian wanted to develop opium cessation drugs, but ended up creating a new addictive substance. That's why he didn't want you to know about it. We have wasted too much time on Mr. Shen's personal affairs. Now that the facts are clear, we should shift our focus back to the current case. Mr. Shen, do you intend to persist in pursuing your brother's case? I guess we're gonna get to the bottom of things. No, I don't think that's the truth. If Brian took his own life out of guilt, it still doesn't explain the existence of this fact. Right. Nice. Yeah, someone monitoring his house. Well, it does contradict it, though. Like, if he's committing suicide out of... Why is someone watching his house? Okay. Fair enough. We want the guilt part gone. I'm not sure. I think I might need a hint. An unusual condition in Brian's body that shouldn't be self-inflicted. I mean, this is the only thing that shows any injuries on the body. It could be that. I mean, you wouldn't call that an injury, would you? No, it isn't an injury. It's an unusual condition. The conclusion that he took his own life out of guilt cannot explain the contortion of his body. The coroners I consulted all said that this is atypical. Oh, a typical symptom of nux vomica poisoning. But the strychnine test came back negative. The opisthotinus should be caused by other reasons. No, he was poisoned by brucine. Brucine? This paper shows that, besides strychnine, nux vomica can extract a substance called brucine. It has weaker toxicity, slower onset of poisoning reactions, and is less detectable. There is such a drug? My brother's suicide is not due to any psychological issues, but a desperate act upon realizing he had been deadly poisoned. So, who do you think poisoned him? The culprit who poisoned Brian and hired Ting Xiang to kill Stone Wu is none other than... Where is he? There he is. All the clues point to the same person. Mr. Bell, you are the mastermind behind both cases. Watson? Mr. Shen, are you accusing Mr. Bell of murder now? I am. John, what made you misunderstand me? I'm not misunderstanding you. Stonewu sold a patent to the Watson Group at a high price before leaving London. And the author of exploring methods for extracting brucine from nux vomica is Stonewu. I'm sure he sold the extraction method for brucine to you. Reasonable association. Old Bell, aren't you planning to defend yourself against such accusations? A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. John, you are just temporarily blinded by hatred. I believe time will provide the answers and he will gradually understand my perspective. Mr. Shen, the court does not entertain baseless accusations. Do you have evidence to support your claim that Mr. Bell poisoned your brother? My brother's time of death was on August 15th, 3 years ago, between 2 to 2:28 p.m. His body was discovered in opisthotinus with a twisted and eerie facial expression. The blood-stained scratches on the chair legs indicated he had just experienced unimaginable pain. Clearly, my brother exhibited symptoms of the late stage of brucine poisoning or his death. Brucine ingestion usually leads to death within 4 to 5 hours. Considering the timeline, this evidence suggests that Mr. Bell is a murder suspect. Are there any photos with him? Probably not. Every time. Wait. that's not what I wanted. That's what I wanted. Yep. This one right there, office meeting at 9. These telegrams can prove it. Mr. Shen, I don't understand. These seem like ordinary communications. How do they prove that Mr. Bell poisoned anyone? Which telegram specifically incriminates Mr. Bell? As Mr. Bell himself mentioned, time will provide the answer. On the morning of August 15th, my brother went to Mr. Bell's office. Around 2 p.m. in the afternoon, he exhibited symptoms of opisthotonus. The interval between the two events is exactly 5 hours. In the eyes of a bigot, my guilt is presumed, innocence a mere shadow. Joseph, why don't you try talking to John and persuading him? In fact, this evidence lacks sufficient strength. John, as you just mentioned, the time from poisoning to death is 4 to 5 hours. During the period from 9 to 10 a.m., Brian had contact with many other people. You and Officer Jones investigated all his movements, and you questioned everyone who saw him. You know better than anyone he had only had coffee at Mr. Bell's on that day and nothing else. At 9 a.m. that morning, I had arranged to meet Brian for coffee to talk his recent conditions. Unfortunately, the known eyewitnesses don't cover the entire period. It's also challenging to confirm whether Brian had consumed any food or water at home. Huh, that's quite a convenient excuse. Even if someone did poison his food or water, it's hard to verify at this point. This case is quite complex and requires further investigation. Mr. Bell, may I trouble you to go to the police station? Would that be convenient for you? Joseph has raised a reasonable suspicion. Until this question is resolved, I don't believe it is necessary to trouble Mr. Bell further. Thanks to Judge Herman's reminder. Mr. Shen, do you have any evidence to respond to Prosecutor Bell's suspicion? Shen is in trouble. Koshin, we need to help him. I'm not familiar with the case 3 years ago, but in Mr. Bell's previous statement, I noticed a certain inconsistency. Then let's say it. While I'm unsure if Judge Herman's reasonable suspicion holds, I can't help but wonder. Why did Mr. Bell lie in his previous statement? Lie? I wonder which of my words led Miss Wen to misunderstand. Misunderstandings? Your words clearly contradict this evidence. Mm-hmm. 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 Well, the fire and the thing is, that was later, wasn't it? It caught fire last night, but at that point, though, he was already dead. Mr. Bell, the fire you mentioned earlier, did it occur at St. Mary's Hospital? I think yes. That's strange. The fire clearly occurred on the night of August 15th, after Brian Shen's death. Why did you say it broke Brian's mental state? Or maybe Brian never thought of giving up his life and the so-called suicidal tendencies were just lies you fabricated. It seems that as time passes, even memories are beginning to play hide and seek with me. Mr. Bell simply made a mistake about the time, which does not constitute a false statement. Miss Wen's viewpoint is irrelevant to the issue, and I object. Judge Herman, it comes to the reasons for Brian Shen's suicide. How could it? Is it the same as poisoning someone if a person simply misremembers the time? Mr. Shen, do you have any other evidence regarding the poisoning accusation? Not at the moment. Since there is no other evidence, I have to reject your request. Even though we lack evidence linking Mr. Bell to the case 3 years ago, there is evidence suggesting his relation to Stone Wu's case. What? This is a bit unexpected. Afu, I believe Mr. Bell poisoned my brother and is the mastermind behind Stone Wu's murder. There is a deeper connection between these two cases. You are more familiar with the Stone Wu case. Please help me find clues together. Leave it to me. Please present evidence that shows the connection between Mr. Bell and Stone Wu's case. Okay. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Irrelevant. Now that is interesting. C17H21NO4. That includes the formula for cocaine. Well, it includes cocaine. So it will possibly... Okay. I think that has to be the connection. Actually, the evidence has been in Sergeant Singh's hands all along. I didn't... Don't break me. Among the evidence seized by the police, there's a photo that Shen took from Wu's study. By chance, I discovered that there was a note tucked inside the photo frame. 1,000 grams of water, 200 grams of sugar, 100 grams of dry ice, 4.8 grams of citric acid. If I'm not mistaken, this note is the missing formula for Watson Group's cola water. They include cocaine. It's also what you've been instructed to find all along. How could this be? This formula doesn't belong to Watson Group. It should be fairly easy to authenticate whether or not it is your formula. Just... This does not meet the standard of evidence. Reject it. But I haven't said anything yet. Since the formula was found in Stone Wu's study, it should be assumed it belonged to Stone Wu. Unless there is clear evidence to the contrary. There should be evidence that can prove the connection between this formula and Mr. Bell. Just by carefully examining the content of the formula, you will notice. The ingredients of the cola water include cocaine. Cocaine is a new drug developed by Brian, only mentioned in his notes. It can be said that the chemical structure of this drug is almost unknown to anyone. Except for Mr. Bell, who was involved in drug development, and Mr. Joseph, who holds the notes. And they are both connected to the Watson Group. It is clearly stated in my brother's notes that cocaine is highly addictive. Even in small doses, it is no exception. This is the true secret behind the success of Watson's cola water. It's also the fundamental motive for Sir Bell's murder and cover-up. That's an interesting speculation indeed. Your argument still doesn't explain why the formula for Watson Group's cola water ended up in Stonewoo's study. The theft of the formula for Watson Cola Water by Shanghai Phantom is widely known news. In the previous trial, the police clearly stated Shanghai Phantom has a close link with Stonewu. Therefore, it is reasonable that Stonewu possessed the stolen formula from Shanghai Phantom. Herman, it's the first time I've seen someone leaving you speechless. Thanks to you, as always. It seems that I need to explain why the formula cannot belong to the Watson Group. This is also the true secret of cola water. However, I need a more private environment. To protect the business secrets of Watson Group, this case is transferred to a non-public trial. Please ask unrelated personnel to wait in the lobby outside the courtroom. Watson Group's reason. The true secret of cola water is there's actually no such thing as a secret formula. It's just a marketing strategy. A marketing strategy? Did you really think that a product can achieve such huge success solely based on its formula? No, it relies on branding, storytelling. The secret formula of the magical beverage is hidden in a priceless safe. What a fascinating story. Who can resist the temptation to explore and satisfy their curiosity by taking a sip? No, it shouldn't be like this. Mr. Shen, what is your intuition about this? My intuition tells me if the secret formula is just a marketing gimmick, there'd be no need to publicly admit the formula theft. It would tarnish the product's fame. I agree with that. From what I know, the Watson Group has offered a hefty reward for clues on Shanghai Phantom. They must be genuinely searching for the formula. Let me explain the situation to the two judges. No need to rush. While it may well convince Judge Kwan, Judge Herman will still reject it with various reasons. What's more troublesome is that we lack solid evidence of Mr. Bell hiring the murderer. Herman talks about procedural justice all along, but he only selects rules that favor Mr. Bell. It's impossible to expect him to make a fair judgment unless Mr. Bell admits it himself. Perhaps that's the best option at the moment. Are you suggesting making him admit it himself? Is that even possible? Mr. Bell obviously values this formula, otherwise he wouldn't kill for it. Things that a person cares about often become their weaknesses. Mr. Shen seems to have changed a bit. Mr. Bell, let me confirm again. The so-called secret formula stolen from the Watson Group doesn't actually exist, right? That is correct. Judges, it seems that I made a mistake. Since the formula in the frame is not related to the Watson Group, it must belong to my brother. How do you deduce that? The chemical structure of cocaine has never been made public, so Stone couldn't have known it. According to Judge Herman's logic, if the formula is found in Brian's photo, we should assume that it belongs to Brian. Am I correct? What do you intend to do with the formula? The formula is a legacy of Mr. Shen's brother. Mr. Shen has full control over it now. Why is Mr. Bell so concerned about it? Actually, there is no harm in telling Mr. Bell. I plan to ask Miss Wen to take care of disclosing the formula. Who you entrust it to is your choice. It's good to hear that from Mr. Bell. I heard Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Yili, the free soda factories, are all interested in this formula. Riji in Suzhou is expanding their business in Southeast Asia and could be a potential partner. I will also send a copy to Jardine Masson, a shareholder of your Watson Group. Considering the lucrative profit in the soda industry, they probably won't refuse. By the way, I plan to publish 2 articles in Shanghai News with these headlines. Detectives found the cola water formula while tracking down the Shanghai Phantom. Watson Group strongly denies the presence of new type of opium in cola water.
You better think carefully about the consequences of libel. Can you afford to bear them?
The formula belongs to Shen. He can give it to whoever he wants. Bite me. Old Bell, how about you double check one more time? If the formula belongs to the Watson Group, I'll order them not to disclose it. Admitting the formula belongs to Watson Group means you are suspected in 2 murder cases. If you deny it, then we have the right to disclose the formula. Eventually, you will have to drink one of these 2 poisoned drinks. Furthermore, you can't explain why the cocaine that only you know about appears in this formula.
The formula is a trade secret of the Watson Group. You are not authorized to disclose it.
Miss Wen, Mr. Shen, the formula is the property of Watson Group. You cannot dispose of it, let alone disclose it. As you wish.
Guards, please escort Mr. Bell to the police station to assist in the investigation.
Mr. Bell is not a criminal. He doesn't need to go anywhere.
Based on the current situation, Stone Wu's death is most likely linked to the cola water formula. Although Mr. Bell has not been convicted, he does have major suspicions against him. Assisting in the investigation is a necessary process, and I hope Judge Herman cooperates.
Your country's judicial process is barbaric, disregarding human rights. Mr. Bell, as a British Empire citizen, his dignity must be protected. Without conclusive evidence, I believe he has no need to undergo an investigation.
Thanks to Judge Herman's reminder.
Shen, this is outrageous. We don't have definitive evidence, so it's not surprising that he would say that. This is a deadlock. We have used up all the available evidence, and they won't let Mr. Bell undergo investigation. Are we expecting evidence to fall from the sky? Perhaps only this person can provide the final breakthrough in the case. Oh, please let it be her. I love characters like this. No! I want her to talk more. Are we going back to Cheche? Or are we going back to Joseph? Let me just like discount people. Okay, from the top. No, no, no. Maybe. He's dead. No. 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 Unfortunately not. He hates justice. Probably not. No. Unfortunately not. No. And no. Yeah. Mr. Joseph hasn't spoken for a long time. His mood seems to be very bad. Joseph, can I ask you something? What is it? Are these reports and notes everything you took from Brian's apartment? However, there is no mention of me in either the reports or the notes. What do you mean? The documents left by my brother don't mention me, which contradicts what you said earlier. It was Brian's intention to keep it from me. Earlier you said that it was my brother who asked you to keep it from me. But there is no mention of me in any of these materials. I think he must have left something else for you. He...
Joseph, my proud son. For the honor of the Bell family, don't say anything that would disappoint me.
Joseph, follow your heart.
Joseph.
Wah, woo, woo. Woo, woo. Daddy won't buy JJ the cola water. JJ doesn't want to drink tea, just wants the cola water.
Dandelion, but that doesn't make me any braver. And as long as I know myself to be a coward, I shall be unhappy.
JJ, why don't you go play with Uncle Wu outside the courtroom? Daddy will join you after work. Officer Wu, thank you.
John, your deduction is correct. This tissue has Brian's handwriting on it. I've kept it with me all this time. It wasn't until today that I fully understood why Brian chose to write these words on this tissue, and the pain he went through when he wrote them.
Promise me you will stop the release of the opium cessation drug. Take good care of John. Keep him away from all this. Ryan.
The tissue was taken from Watson's office, and it has the logo of the Bell Mansion. This ring is an imprint from a coffee cup. Though it's 3 years old, it can still undergo analysis. Wherever there is contact, there will be traces. If your deduction is correct, the imprint should be able to detect remnants of bruising. Why was I not informed about this? How dare you keep this from me? I'm sorry, Watson. This is not just for Cheche. It's for myself as well. For the past 3 years, I've been burying my head in the sand like an ostrich. I'm a fucking prosecutor.
In my country, there are 400 million people, and among them 8 million smoke opium. These 8 million people, from the elderly to children, are all deeply immersed with opium. Their families' wealth is scattered, their lives in ruins. The severity of opium addiction and the agony of cessation make it difficult for them to quit.
Is this why you chose to research this niche field?
Yes, sir.
Young man, you are an idealist, but you know nothing about business. In fact, opium persists not just due to addiction, but due to significant vested interests. Opium trade benefits, while prohibition has no profit. If something cannot generate profits, it cannot endure for long.
Yes. Many people have said that. Thanks for your time.
But I am also an idealist.
Father, are you saying that you are willing to fund Brian's research?
I believe that what I am funding is for the well-being of humanity.
See, I told you that you could persuade him.
Mr. Shen, a pleasure to work together.
Mr. Bell, Joseph, I'm grateful. Beyond words. Oh, Mr. Bell, you're also here?
Joseph mentioned that you're not feeling well, so I came to check on you.
All 20 patients from St. Mary's experimental group showed signs of drug abuse.
No need to worry about this. As long as the dosage is controlled, there won't be any issues.
But patients voluntarily requested dose increases. I'm concerned about the drug's release.
Did they request opium during the treatment?
No.
It indicates that the opium cessation medication you developed is effective. Brian, you truly are a pharmaceutical genius. The moment you've been dreaming of to defeat opium is about to arrive.
But the side effects.
Every drug has its side effects. We can further develop new drugs to help people overcome these side effects.
Mr. Bell, we cannot launch a drug when we know it has addictive properties.
What do you suggest?
We need to expose the dangers of cocaine, caution the public.
Are you sure?
I created a monster with my own hands. It must not reach the public. I'll compensate your research funding.
You are always an idealist, Brian. So far, nobody knows cocaine. Once it is made public, aren't you worried that the Sassoon family will turn around and develop an alternative? Even if you can convince me, can you convince them? Come, have a cup of coffee to calm down. I heard John is working part-time in Boston to support his studies.
How do you know my brother is in Boston?
Is your brother? Of course. I have to take extra care of him.
Mr. Bell, are you threatening me?
I am planning a future for you and your brother. You want shares in Watson Group? It can make you both live a life of prosperity and wealth forever.
I develop opium cessation drugs to prevent tragedies, not for wealth.
In that case, I respect your decision.
Something tells me he did not respect his decision.
Keep a close eye on him. Make sure he gets home and never steps out again. After 5 hours, go inside and retrieve all his research files. Why is there so much noise outside?
Sir, St. Mary Hospital is on fire.
The fire will turn everything into ashes, won't it? The night in London hasn't been this bright for a long time.
It's your property. Aren't you worried?
Everything comes with a cost.
Grandpa, when can we go home?
Darling, we've got to stay here for a bit.
Why?
Someone once told me there's like 400 million people here, but only 8 million people. Market development rate is a real disappointment here, right?
JJ also wants the cola water.
No, darling, you can't drink the cola water. How about Chinese tea?
Can I put a bit of fruit juice in the tea?
Of course. And you know what? You've given me a bit of inspiration. Maybe I should put some fruity flavors that kids fancy into the cola water.
Sorry, John. I once thought Brian sacrificed to prevent the release of the opium cessation drug. Joseph, it's not your fault. But Mr. Bell and the Watson Group must face appropriate punishment.
Who do you think you are?
Judges, now we have evidence of Mr. Bell's poisoning. Can we proceed to bring him to justice? Old Bell, this lad seems dead set on getting the law to come down on you.
Then go ahead and try. Arrest me.
Why does he not sound afraid at all? Mr. Bell's crimes have already been proven. Isn't that enough? Mr. Shen, I heard that you studied law in Boston. Surely you have heard the term jurisdiction, right? The victim is Chinese and the culprit is in Shanghai. The Shanghai governor does have jurisdiction. Mr. Bell is a citizen of the British Empire. A small court in the Far East without even a jury and a group of laymen in law. How can you ensure that this British knight receives fair treatment? Consular jurisdiction exists precisely for this purpose. Consular jurisdiction?
Based on the agreement, British nationals' crimes can only be adjudicated by the British consul.
But it's obvious that they are colluding. We can't let him escape punishment like this. Is there anything else we can do?
This is the current trend, something neither you nor I can change. Judge Kwan, being able to see the trend is your greatest advantage.
Enough of this, Watson.
Fulfill your promise to me. Stop the opium cessation drug business.
Enough of this, Joseph. 3 years ago, for you, I took all the opium cessation drugs off the shelves at our pharmacy. I am a man of my word.
No, not in the form of cola water.
That's a new business. In fact, this remedial measure opens up a whole new market for us.
Liar.
Joseph, my child, you've inherited my kindness, but business is business. You know why I come to Shanghai? The Sassoon family's opium business is doomed after the opium agreement between China and the UK. There are 8 million addicts in China and they all need opium cessation drugs. It's a huge market. At that time, we will surpass the Sassoons and become the most powerful family in the Far East.
But you're fully aware that cocaine is not an opium cessation drug and it's worse than opium.
God, you are stupid. Trade is free. Where there is demand, there will be supply. It seems that Mr. Bell's true intention is not the opium cessation drug business, but to replace opium with cola water. Opium is innocent and cola water even more so. They are just commodities.
If drugs are innocent, why did the British government pass the 1868 Drugstore Act? If opium is innocent, why do so many people die because of it? Why do families fall apart? If the cola water business is innocent, why did you poison my brother? Why did you kill Stone Wu and those innocent people at St. Mary's Hospital?
Everything comes with a cost. I gave you the best choice, but unfortunately, you are all too short-sighted.
The so-called best choice is to let you continue poisoning us with cola water, isn't it?
This pitiful country of yours, backward and corrupt, is also adept at putting on airs. Your people have been cultivating poppy here decades ago, and countless people profited from it. Factories and schools were built on profits from opium. You should be well aware of that, right?
The International Opium Commission is about to be held, I believe.
Opium Commission? Do you really believe that China can eradicate opium?
I do.
John, you, just like your poor brother, are both idealists. I deeply sympathize with what Brian has gone through. In fact, for Brian, I not only sympathize, but also greatly admire and appreciate him. Without his invention, there wouldn't be the globally popular Watson Cola Water. But you have to know that human suffering is a result of their own choices. Those who smoke heavily have free will. Did anyone force them? No, they chose to smoke for themselves, just like your pathetic father. And your self-righteous brother. If he hadn't rejected the shares I offered him back then, how could he end up in such a situation? When a fish bites, don't rush to pull up the rod. There will be a noticeable tug when a big fish is hooked. Just now. In fact, you cannot feel at ease as you claim to.
What are you smiling at?
If you didn't have fear in your heart, you wouldn't have resorted to murder to cover the truth. And the last evidence that I'm going to present is prepared for your fear. Possibly this. Watson, I've prepared 2 gifts for you. Over the past 3 years, I've investigated all suspects in Brian's case, especially you. This briefcase contains various criminal records related to the Watson Group. Not only from your pharmacies in Shanghai, but also in Hong Kong and London. All contact leaves traces. I know how you cunningly acquired Hong Kong pharmacy. I know how you disguised cheap tonics laced with opium to make your fortune. I know how you colluded with corrupt officials to protect your fake medicines businesses. I know how you committed crimes repeatedly and used the legal system to escape punishment. I've visited the victims of these events. Through them, I have gradually built the chain of evidence for your criminal career. Only the final piece was missing. Just now, Joseph provided the crucial evidence, and everyone heard you confess in your own words.
Then why not bring those victims and file a lawsuit in a jurisdiction with authority? I can assure you that your so-called evidence and testimonies won't be accepted.
So, I have prepared another gift. The other gift is the phonograph broadcasting machine I invented.
Phonograph? Shen Ping, are you planning to use it to end your life like your brother?
Enough, Watson. Brian sacrificed himself to protect those documents, just to ring the death knell for you today. Your dirty business is over.
You're even more naive than your brother. The opium business has been going on for half a century. You people are the sick man of East Asia. Do you really think you alone can change the course of history?
No, I am not alone. I have seen an editor who traveled tirelessly for the liberation of thoughts and literature. I have witnessed a foreman who dedicated his whole life to new steelmaking technology. I also know of an official who, even without blueprints, hammered out the first steamship. Beyond them, there are millions of Chinese people striving to change the era despite adversity. And opium is one of the most urgent issues our country must confront. We must make every effort to eradicate opium drugs and save ourselves.
Jen is right. I raise both my hands in support.
I will mobilize my friends in the press to expose the truth about cola water. Count me in.
I will do my best to promote the anti-smoking and anti-drug campaign. And us too. A bunch of rabble.
Why is there so much noise outside? People are gathering outside, demanding justice for the culprit and the removal of bad merchants.
What?
What on earth is going on? The phonograph broadcasting machine can record sounds and then broadcast them. Now, not only can we hear you speaking, but everyone outside the courtroom can hear it too. The headlines of the newspapers in the next few days will definitely be about this. Soon the whole world will know the truth.
You...
This is a non-public trial. How dare you broadcast a trial without authorization? Is this how you Chinese disrespect rules?
Rules? Who is the one that is really disrespecting the rules here? How dare you look at me like that? Your rules always have two sets of standards, one for yourselves and one for others. There is only one rule in my book. If you choose to do evil, you must pay the price.
Judge, the angry mob is trying to storm in. The police can hardly hold them back. Protect me.
Judge Herman, as the esteemed British consul, I will do everything I can to ensure your safety. But if you insist on protecting Mr. Bell and fail the justice, public anger won't be appeased. No one can guarantee that the tragedy of the Li Huang case 3 years ago won't repeat itself.
It's up to Judge Kwan's decision.
As the presiding judge, I pronounce Watson Reuben Bell guilty. Nice. Solved. No, it's not over yet. Since that's the case, I don't mind making another tragedy.
Watch out, Chen. It's the two horses. Chen.
In 1909, Tang Wan gave a remarkable speech at the International Opium Commission held in Shanghai. The meeting led to the first international drug control treaty, the Hague Opium Convention in 1912. In 1928, the Republic of China attempted to abolish all consular jurisdiction in China. However, due to resistance from foreign countries, its goal was not achieved. In 1943, ROC ended UK and US consular jurisdiction in China through an agreement. In 1949, People's Republic of China was founded, ending consular jurisdiction and foreign privileges. In 1950, PRC's proclamation on strictly prohibiting opium eradicated the issue in 3 years. In 1987, the UN set June 26th as the International Day Against Drug Abuse in Vienna. And by that destiny, to perform an act whereof, well, that disappeared quickly. Let's go!
Forgot to tell you, boss. All my bosses end up like this.
I love her, she's great. I want a game with her. Revealing the conspiracy of the Watson Group.
I want to buy one.
No, you don't.
Huh?
You'll get it for free. Let's go. Outsmarting bad guys. Hero.
And I won't be polite. Koshin, Afu, you were brilliant in the courtroom. We not only rescued Shen, but also caught the evil mastermind. Great, we should celebrate. Come and watch our show tonight, my treat. Shen is injured. We plan to go back to Yangzhou for recovery. Is Mr. Shen okay? He's fine, nothing serious. It's just, we miss your performance again. Bon voyage. Mr. Joseph, what are you planning to do next?
I will suspend my prosecutor duties first and focus on resolving the cola water issues.
Anything I can help, just let me know. Mr. Scarecrow, could you come close? Mr. Lion said he got what he wanted. Did you get a thinking brain too?
Yes.
That's great. Yeah. Judge Quan, why are you here?
Seizing the Watson Farmers is a significant matter. I must be present to prevent any further incidents.
How is Ting Xiang? She is in the women's prison, awaiting the verdict. Is it possible to give her a lighter sentence? That day in the court, if she weren't there...
I greatly admire her for eliminating a criminal, however she is also related to multiple homicides.
Trust us, she will get a fair judgment. Yeah!
Find anything suspicious, report immediately. Yes, Sergeant!
Officer! It's Sergeant now.
Ah, thanks.
Sergeant Lee, why investigate the store again?
Though Watson has been sanctioned, Shanghai Phantom is still at large. I will surely bring him to justice.
Shen! You promised me that you would rest in the room. Your arm is injured, you shouldn't carry luggage.
It's okay, my right arm is fine.
Let me take it.
We'll ignore this guy.
Alright, I guess it's time. Hoshin, I don't want to say goodbye. Me neither, but... The Opium Commission is about to be held. I want to contribute more articles to the event.
Miss Wen, be sure to take care.
Don't worry, I'm a professional. See you. Ah, Koshin. What is the headline this time? Hasn't decided yet. Toby Cheng and I will collaborate on this report. You reminded me, that guy disappeared again.
They've misspelled special. There gonna be some more, or is that the end? Is there any way to skip the credits? It doesn't look like it. I've pressed the usual suspects. I've pressed escape, space, and enter. Nothing happened. So I guess they will just run down. And I can talk about my thoughts. I guess the credits are also close to over, but that's fine. Yeah, I really enjoyed the game. I mean, it had its ups and downs, of course, as do most games like this. But yeah, I really enjoyed the overall story. I enjoyed the characters. I really enjoyed how it all came together at the end.
Mr. Zheng, why are you here?
I'm here to return this.
My phonograph broadcasting machine. Well, if it's helpful for you, you can just take it.
Nah, keep it and make it better. Toby, I truly appreciate your assistance.
You are the key.
I'm just a journalist who doesn't want to miss out on big news. No, your contribution to this case is much greater than it appears. It's the formula you stole that plays the key role.
Oh, nice. What, Mr. Cheng is Shanghai Phantom?
Nah, I can never do that. Stone noticed that the symptoms of the people who drank cola water were the same as the subject. So he asked someone to steal the formula of cola water to verify our hypothesis. However, before I laid eyes on the formula, Stone was murdered and the formula disappeared. I tried several times to enter the scene and search, but never had the opportunity. To my surprise, Stone hid the formula behind Brian's photo. Now that I think about it, it is indeed the most proper place. Oh, I almost forgot the purpose I came here for.
It seems I misunderstood Mr. Wu.
Which means?
When I was investigating the cellar, I thought he was a bad guy selling opium cessation drugs. But wasn't it Mr. Cheng who was involved in the pharmaceutical research back then? How could Mr. Wu know the specific symptoms of the subjects? Detectives, a friend asked me to give you this. Is this a commissioned letter? Smart as always. I appreciate it, but I plan to go home and tell Brian that his last wish has been fulfilled. I believe you won't refuse this case, Mr. Shen. That might have been a hint for it, because as I've read, there is sort of like a DLC in production about a further case that I will definitely be playing when it comes out. I don't know when that is yet. They're still on the journey. But yeah, it was a great game. I didn't really know what to expect, what kind of quality. But yeah, I was really impressed, especially by some of the scenes in like today's recording, I guess, in like the last 2.5 hours. So in like the last 2 or 3 episodes. Some of the, I guess you could call it directing, was really, really impressive. Some of the presentation, I'm calling it. I really, really enjoyed. The characters were good. Of course, there were some instances where I was like, I don't quite get how that evidence is supposed to do that, but overall, it didn't happen too often. There were a couple times where I actually had to look up what, what I was supposed to do. In, like, I'd say about 80% of the cases afterwards, I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. In, like, 20%, I was like, yeah, probably wouldn't have really thought about it that way, but sure. I mean, honestly, I think it was definitely less bad than in Phoenix Wright. So, yeah. Super happy with how this turned out. Pretty happy about, like, the conclusion as well. Yeah, I guess I will see you all in the next project. I'm not decided on what that will be yet, but we'll see next Monday. Yeah, then eventually, I guess, for the DLC once it does come out. But until then, I hope you enjoyed watching Murders on the Yangtze River. Thanks for doing so, and I will see you all next time. Till then, bye.